Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Science of Spirit. Today, I'm going to talk about something that actually happened to me just a couple of days ago. Now, this is in regards to, I guess what I'm going to refer to as time slips or missing time. I've never really experienced any of that before. I mean, yeah, and I think we all have, driven down the road, maybe a long drive or something like that, and you kind of get lost in your thoughts, and then before you know it, you're at your destination. Well, this wasn't exactly like that. This was something different. What happened was, I was going to drive to work, and there's a couple of different ways that I can go. One way, I can take the freeway, but I live in the city. And it's all very congested no matter which way I go. So sometimes I'll take the freeway and I can get there the quickest, but you never know if there's going to be an accident or everybody's going to be backed up there for some reason. So for whatever reason, a couple of days ago, I decided I wasn't going to take the freeway and I decided to take this other route, which is a little bit longer. And I left at the same time I always do to get there. And this route usually takes me 20 to 25 minutes. Because I'm, not driving really fast. And there's a whole lot of stoplights on the way. So, you really have to pay attention to where you're going. You can't really be daydreaming. So I took this route, and as I turned down this one street called Melrose, I remember passing over the railroad tracks, and there was a man there who had a couple of little dogs, and I remember thinking that the dogs were really cute. And then I just found myself further along. I thought, okay, where am I? I mean, I knew where I was because I was still on Melrose Street. But I thought, well, did I already go past the overpass? Because that's another thing. Once you go over the railroad tracks, there's a little bit of an area that's residential that kind of winds around. And then you have to go under this big freeway overpass, which there's like 3 or 4 stoplights, just boom, 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 right in a row. So you're paying attention. You're not just cruising along. And you have to make sure you're getting in the right lanes and all that kind of stuff. Well, I found myself way past that. And I'm driving down the road thinking, okay, I didn't go past the freeway. What happened? I was just moving still forward on that street. And, and I'm driving down the street going, how did I just pass all of that? I wasn't zoned out. I really wasn't. I was paying attention to what I was doing. But even if I had, I would still know that I had gone under the overpass. So I'd found myself down further along. And so the rest of the drive, I'm just kind of thinking about it. And I'm not necessarily getting there driving any faster. I still hit a few stoplights as normal and had to stop there. And so I made it to work. And I'm sitting there in the parking lot thinking, wow, I even made it there like 5 minutes or more sooner than I normally would have, which I thought was strange because I wasn't like I said, I wasn't driving any faster. I wasn't, hitting the stoplights all green. It was just kind of a mix. So it really had me baffled. I'm like, okay, what happened here? So I went back in my mind and I thought, because it was still fresh in my mind as far as the route, and I clearly remember driving down many different areas, and even one section where, I had to stop because I was turning right, and I had to wait for other traffic that was just kind of slipping through, like on a yellow light. And, and obviously I remember going over the train tracks with the man with the dogs. I mean, I could follow it all the way until right there. And I thought, this had to have happened over the train tracks because I looked back in my rearview mirror to see if he actually went behind me. And I don't even know why I did that. I just did. And he did. He crossed after I went past. And then suddenly I was past all of the residentially area and past the highway, and suddenly just in more of a residential area, but way further down, headed towards a stoplight. And so that's kind of how it happened. I thought it was really kind of an interesting story. So I thought, I got to ask my higher self about this one, because this was really bizarre. Am I totally losing my ever-loving mind, or what's going on here? And those of you who have been listening to this podcast and have listening to the Bashar transmissions, you've heard a little bit about, the parallel realities and creating your own reality, and how it is actually possible to jump, I don't know if you call it jump frames, but vibrate at a different rate. So I wasn't sure what this was, because it could have been any number of things. I mean, it could have been, something going wrong, because when I got to work, I wrote my friend and I told her, what had happened. And her first reaction was, well, are you feeling sick? Are you dizzy? I'm like, no, it's not that kind of an issue. I didn't obviously get into a car wreck. I didn't feel like I had to pull over to the side of the road, or I didn't end up in a ditch or something. So no, and this was very seamless. I was driving, and I think it happened like almost in a split second. I think no more had I looked in my rearview mirror and then probably briefly looked down and then started to look at the road, and then the road had changed. I was further down. It was that seamless. It was bizarre. So I did ask my higher self about this. Now, I do want to interject something here. That morning, I was talking to my best friend, and we were talking about how we wanted to maintain the feelings of moving forward in life. And so she told me some of the things that she was doing to feel like she was moving forward. And I was saying, stating the same thing, but we both felt like we were kind of needing to step up our game a little bit to move forward. So that was the discussion that I had probably a half an hour before I left to go to work. So I thought there might be something with that. I thought there might be some kind of a message in this whole thing, mostly for me, but just a message in general too. So I did check with my higher self, and this is what I got. You went through a time distortion that favored that vibration on forward momentum. It wrapped around you and escalated the movement in space-time. Your stream of consciousness at that moment was disrupted by another waveform being brought forth from us. It is a type of barrier to the conscious projection of thought forms. You slipped through the barrier and into a faster moving frame of reference. Proof that time-space can be seen or felt by projecting one's thoughts into another reality. Proof for you. Also, finding fun and joy will propel you forward in life. Taking out thoughts of going nowhere pushes you where you really want to go. So I thought that was interesting, but not entirely sure how it happened, because I wasn't deliberately trying to get this to happen. This is just something that just did all on its own. So after I did the channeling session and I looked it over, I still had some questions, but I thought maybe I could just use muscle testing to kind of flesh out what was going on, because I didn't understand what the us was. So I asked about that, and what it boiled down to is it seems that it was kind of done as a demonstration for me by my higher self in conjunction with another spirit or other spirits that helped to create this thing, this distortion, if you will. So with my conscious thoughts that morning, with that conversation that I had about moving forward, in conjunction with spirit kind of stepping in to create this whole scenario, it actually propelled me further down the road. I moved forward without realizing. It was effortless, because the area that I completely missed out on was this whole traffic-y area that always gets backed up, and you know several stoplights that you have to stop at to go under the freeway overpass. So I missed all of that, and the courthouse area too. So I propelled forward. I was moving forward literally in time. So I don't know. It was really kind of a cool experience, I have to say. And I've never really had anything happen like this ever before, where I could actually document it. I mean, I think we've all, maybe been sitting somewhere or been doing something, and then suddenly before you know it, time has just flown by. But this was just this weird, seamless thing that, the fact that I was driving down the road, plus the fact that I ended up getting to work early. So it had all the trappings of something that actually happened. I knew something, had happened for sure. So then I got to thinking, okay, so to other people, other drivers, did they just suddenly see my car disappear and then reappeared later down the line? It's crazy. I mean, I thought, well, maybe that's what happens when you're driving along and you notice a car and then suddenly they're not there and you're thinking, oh, they must have turned or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. This is all kind of funny. So this actually got me thinking about something that Bashar had said, where he's been talking about how they actually fly their ships. And he said that there's an experiment that you can do, and it requires having a sphere, let's say, a small sphere of copper sphere. And you have a very, very flat surface, a flat table that's really long. And on one end, you set the sphere, and with whatever equipment would be required to do this, you measure the actual resonance of that sphere in that location. And then you take that sphere and you move it down to the other end of the table, and you measure what it is down there at the other end of the table. And there should be a difference, because he says that location is actually part of the resonance of the object. So he said then, if you were to take that sphere and vibrate it at the opposite reading that you got on the other end of the table, then the sphere should show up, either roll down there or just magically show up at the other side of the table. So that's just simply done with vibration. I shouldn't say simply, because you'd have to find a way to first measure that fine of a vibration where the location is changing its vibration. And then you'd have to be able to bombard it with that vibration somehow, acoustically or whatnot, to get it to move down to the other end of the table. So it reminded me of that, and yeah. But in all seriousness, I think it is showing that if you vibrate at one rate in one area, and then you vibrate with the location variable in another area, you'll end up there. So I don't know, maybe I just did that bilocation thing due to my wanting to be moved forward, and with a little help, apparently. But it was interesting to know that you can do it. I mean, it's almost like teleportation. Ooh, ha, I teleported. How crazy is that, huh? Well, that's about all I have to say about it. If this kind of thing has actually ever happened to one of you, be sure to leave a comment below, because I'd really like to hear about it. I don't personally know of anybody who can document, an episode happening to themselves, not where they weren't kind of questioning it. This, I had no question. I mean, it happened. I just didn't know how or why. I'm really glad I got to share this experience with you, and if anyone else has had this happen to them, be sure to leave a comment below. And if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and share this with your friends. Also, this podcast can be heard on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Spotify. This is Janice with The Science of Spirit. Thank you for listening.